Me and my friend Tony have always had a love for the outdoors. When we were kids, we'd play outside all day long. As we grew up into our teenage years, we still love being outside, but typically we'd spend our time in the woods just behind our houses. These were very, very deep woods. Some areas were so thick you couldn't get through, so we probably only saw 1/5 of what was actually out there. We always pondered what could be in those areas that we couldn't get to. If we got through the thick area of woods and shrubs, that there would be another opening, another area we hadn't found yet. We never did go there because our parents always forbidden us to go that far into the woods. So we always stayed in sight of the houses. We used to have little BB guns and paintball guns, and would set up targets and just shoot them off the trees. We're both in our early 20s now, and we met up at a restaurant just to have something to eat and have a talk about old times. Whilst we were talking, we got onto the topic of the woods that we used to love so much. We knew it was still there, but we hadn't been there in ages. So we decided that one day, in the next few weeks, we were going to go down to these woods and camp out there for the night. We were going to try and make our way through that heavily wooded area that we could never get through as kids and weren't allowed to go to. Just to camp and hang out. It's strange. There's something about childhood desires that don't always go away, and the mystery of that area of the woods still stays with us today. Likelihood was nothing was going to be there. It would just be thick woods for however many miles, and we wouldn't find anything. I wouldn't imagine too many people would have been there, as, like I say, it's kinda out of the way, and probably a real pain to get through. But we were determined to see what was there, and if there were any more openings, even to have a spot we could maybe hang out at in the future, that only we knew about. Anyway, we went home and forgot about it for a while. We said we were going to meet up in a few weeks, but those few weeks turned into a few months, then those few months into a year, and before we knew it, we were in our mid-20s. We occasionally spoke on Snapchat and WhatsApp, but we hadn't seen each other in a while. One day, at around 2-3 PM in the afternoon, I got a random message from Tony. He asked me if I was still up for meeting up in that spot, and if I wanted to go explore it with him on the weekend. I had nothing I was doing on the weekend, and we hadn't seen each other in a while, so we agreed to meet up, get something to eat, hang out for a bit, then go over to those woods and camp out for a while. To make a long story short, I brought a tent, I got some equipment, I got a lantern and a torch, and all the equipment I thought we would need for a single night in the forest. How hard could it be? I know how to put up a tent, but I've never stayed out in the woods before. Even if anything happened, we're what, 300-400 meters away from houses? How bad could it possibly be? Day finally arrived. Myself and Tony both got ourselves ready, got our tents packed up, our equipment, our torches, and set out for the woods. We made our way to the darkest part of the woods we could find, where barely any light was making its way in. It was probably dusk at this time of day anyway, around 6 PM, so it was hard to see, but that's the reason we have our torches. So we kept going until we found an area that we thought we could make our way through. Like I say, this area of woodland was so thick that you couldn't make it through all the bushes and the trees and the shrubs. I decided that I was going to zip up my coat, put my hat on, pull my socks up, and try and push my way through these trees, just to see what I could find. I told him I was going to do it, and he stepped back. I told him if I needed any help, I'd shout for him. So I was pushing my way through, and made it probably 20 meters into this thick wooded area. I could barely see anything as it was getting darker quicker, and also there were so many bushes and leaves in my face, I couldn't see anything. I kept pushing until I could see some light just ahead of me. Probably a minute later, I could see what was ahead of me. As I always hoped and expected as a kid, it looked as though there was a clearing. However, it didn't go as I expected. What I saw was even better and even scarier than I ever imagined as a kid. It looks as though there was some kind of cave. Now, when I say cave, it was a 6 foot by 6 foot opening that went downwards into the ground. It was almost completely covered by trees and grass, but I could see it went down quite a way. I quickly called back to Tony and told him what I could see. He came bombarding through to get to where I was, so he could see it too. Panting and breathing heavily and sweating quite a lot, Tony could see exactly what I saw. Excited, we decided to push our way through. As we made our way through, we could see the opening even better. This was clearly a cave. It didn't look as though any people had been there before though. You know, normally if you go into the woods and you go to an area that's not on the beaten path, you normally see tins of cans and crisp packets on the floor. Well, this was completely different. It didn't look as though anyone had been here. This was incredible to us, and it felt like exactly what we wanted as kids. We decided to make a plan. I said that we can camp out in the area we know today, but tomorrow we're going to come back in daylight and try and figure out what's in that cave. We'll come back with torches and a lot more lights, so we can try and see exactly where this place leads. For all we knew, it could only be 5 foot deep and absolutely nothing's there. Even if that was the case, it's still cool and a place we could hang out at. So we went back, and around the opening of the woods we set up our camp. We stayed the night and we had a great time. We cracked open a few beers and had something to eat, but all we could talk about and think about was what was in that cave. It was the main topic of discussion, and all we could think about was how much we would have loved this as kids. Anyway, we went back to mine for the day, hung out for a bit, then decided to head back. It was still daylight out, so we knew we'd see a lot more than we could last night. As we made it up to the cave entrance, one thing stood out to me. It didn't look like it fit in with the rest of the landscape. Where we were was heavily wooded. There was grass and trees and shrubs and plants. This bit here was barren and muddy, and the grass was more sparse than it was in the other areas of the woods. It was weird. I turned on my flashlight and my lantern, and we slowly walked into the cave. The first thing that shocked me was just how deep it was. The light from my flashlight wouldn't reach the walls of the cave. This perplexed me, as it didn't look that big from the outside. All I could hear was water dripping from the roof of the cave onto the ground around our feet. We walked extremely slowly, as we weren't sure what we were going to find in here. It had a really strange, distinctive smell. Kind of like damp, but not really. It's a smell I've never smelt before in my life, and I'll probably never smell again. Tony said he was going to go explore the other side of the cave. I told him to be careful and to shout me if he needed me. Every word we said echoed around us. It was really strange, and felt almost like a surreal experience. After he went, his footsteps slowly disappeared, getting fainter as he got even more distant from me. I decided just to scan around and see if I could find anything interesting. On the wall, it looked as though there were markings, but I couldn't figure out exactly what. All of a sudden, from behind me, echoing all around the cave, I heard Tony calling for me to come over quickly. I couldn't figure out exactly where he was because of the echoes, but he flashed his light towards me and I made my way over to him. He sounded a little bit panicked in his voice, and I was confused as to what the issue was. I walked over, and suddenly my heart sank. I could see bones. Bones that looked like they'd been there for a while. These also looked like human bones. There were some shoes on the floor as well that looked really old and tattered. Almost completely disintegrated, to be honest. I also saw an old newspaper propped up on a piece of stone. Now, this newspaper was almost completely ruined, but there were a few pages that you could still read. I held up the lantern against it and tried to figure out when it had come from. I held up my lantern against it and tried to figure out exactly how old it was. I could only just about make out April 3rd, 1963. This had been there an extremely long time, and this must be a human body. That freaked us both out, and we decided to leave the cave. Thoughts were swirling in our head. What if those were human bones and someone had died there many years ago? What if they were never found? Had we just found a crime scene? What happened here? We left, packed up all our stuff, and went back to my place. We called the police, and they came over. We showed them where we went and how we found the spot. It was kind of hard explaining to them the reason we was in this cave in the first place, and that we were just trying to explore an old woods that we went to as kids, and find some new places to hang out. But of course we did explain this to them, and showed them where the cave was. We gave the police our contact details, and they said that if they needed us then they'd be in touch. They sectioned the area off, and that was the last I heard for a very, very long time. Now to fast forward to today, it turns out that this was an unsolved murder from way back in the 1960s, a cold case that had been completely forgotten about. If we'd never decided to go into those woods, that case would still be a mystery to this day, and the families would never have had their peace. The case is still undergoing investigation, but what we found that day will stick with me forever. This happened many months ago now, and the thought of what happened still scares me to this day. So I live in a fairly small town. I live on the other side of town to where I work. I commute in by car. Now I could get the bus there, but it's so much easier to drive. In the winter months, when I'm at work, I finish around 6 PM, which isn't too bad, but this means it's very dark. Because I live in quite a small rural town, I have to go through very small windy roads, almost like dirt roads, with shrubbery on either side of them. And at night time, there's absolutely no lights illuminating the road, so you have to be slow and you have to be careful, which I always am. This isn't necessarily a problem in the summer because it gets dark later on, but in the winter months, it's almost pitch black when I'm driving home. I take the same route every single day, and I've never had a problem before, until this one day. I finished work as usual, and everything was as it always is, boring and mundane. I was driving home down this winding dirt road, when all of a sudden, in the distance, I could see the illumination of a figure. Now, I was quite far away still, so I could only see an outline of a figure and I couldn't actually make out any facial details or anything. But it looked as though this person was dressed in all white, seemingly a dress, and had long black hair. This creeped me out, but I kept driving as I thought maybe it was just someone walking along the road, which does happen sometimes. But this time of night in the dark, it's not typical, put it that way. As I got closer, it appeared that this woman was in the road, kneeling down and crying. I stopped my car and observed the situation for a second. Something didn't feel right to me as I slowed down and stopped my car. I was on the verge of getting out and seeing what was wrong with the woman, but something in my gut told me not to. I kept my doors locked, and the woman looked up at me. As she looked up at me, I could make out some other figures moving in the bushes just ahead of her. From what I could make out, it looked as though there were masked men hiding in the bushes, waiting to jump out. I quickly floored my car as hard as I possibly could, went round the woman, and sped down the road. I got home, pretty shaken up by what I'd seen. I called the police and told them, and they said they'd send someone out to have a look. Now, I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. What if I hadn't followed my gut instinct? What if I'd got out of the car? What would have happened to me? The next day, the police told me they couldn't find anything, but that there'd been reports of similar incidents, of people getting out of their car, going to help the woman, and masked men coming out the bushes and robbing them. I can't explain how happy I am that I followed my gut instinct, that I didn't get out of that car and didn't try to help the woman. Who knows what would have happened to me? I'm now scared to drive down that road at night on my own, and I'm finding alternative routes to get home. Hello everyone, this is the part of the video where there's no more stories, so if you're only here for the stories, then there's plenty more on my channel and plenty of other channels out there that narrate stories much better than I do. But if you're just here for the chat, then that's what I'm here for at this point. How have you guys been? What have you been up to? Have you done anything interesting? Let me know in the comments. I'm very tired at the moment because I always record this bit too late at night. It's almost midnight and I'm very tired, but for some reason I find this is the best time to record this part of the video, and I quite enjoy this part of the video where it's just talking and a conversation about anything. I'm currently not in the notorious windy spot, but I'll be back there soon. But yeah, it's quite cold today, so I didn't want to sit in pure. I've actually just not been great on my diet, and I just ate a bag of Percy Pigs, and I absolutely love Percy Pigs. I don't know if they have them in every country, but look them up if you haven't heard of Percy Pigs. They're really good. In general, my healthiness hasn't been that great the last couple of weeks. I really need to improve my diet. It's the diet that's my problem. It's not the exercise. I've realised the exercise I can stick at, and I actually really enjoy the exercise. It's one of my favourite. I actually look forward to it, but it's the diet. I just like junk food really, which is my problem. I also find this time of night is my weak point, and I don't sleep well at night, and I never really do. I can't remember, but I've probably spoken about this in here before. I don't sleep well, so I end up sitting here at like 1 a.m, and then I get really hungry, and I think I could have a pack of biscuits, Percy Pigs. I ate something earlier. I don't even know what they're called. It's like a pancake that's wrapped up with chocolate, and I don't know. I can't remember the name of them. It was good though, but yeah, for me, this is my weak point of the day, every day, and I need to figure out a way to just have more self-control. That's what it is, it's self-control, isn't it? And I know if I really wanted to, because I've done it before, where I've just decided I'm going to be good. I just need to decide, right, I'm going to be good from this point onwards, and I will be, but it's getting to that point for me that takes me some time. But yeah, I need to stop making an excuse and just do it. But yeah, I've been doing the exercise still. I've been going for a lot of runs, trying to go to the gym as much as possible, do different sports and stuff. So yeah, on that front, it's all going. Also, if any of you haven't, I'm assuming a lot of you have, definitely try IKEA's meatballs. They're amazing. They're really cheap too. They asked me if I wanted to have jam on them. I wasn't sure about jam on a meatball, but I gave it a go, and it does go well. And it's not like the kind of jam you're thinking of. It's got like little bits in it. I don't know what it is, but it's good. It's not like your standard jam. It's a different kind of jam, but it is very good. That's something I had the other day. I'm assuming that's not very good for you either, but it is good. Do you know what? IKEA is one of them shops that I just dislike going to in general. The stuff they sell is all good quality and it's good stuff, but I just hate the shop. It makes me feel claustrophobic. It's just there's too many turns that lead to the same place, and it just feels like you're trapped in there. And I feel like if there's a fire, how do you get out? I'm sure there's procedures in place, but I just always feel like I'm just trapped when I go to IKEA. It's almost like one of them zombie apocalypse places where it's like, how would you even get out? I don't know. I really don't like going to IKEA, but I will go for the meatballs. I just don't like that you have to walk all the way through the shop to get to that area, and that's why I can't be bothered most of the time. But on the rare occasion I do go to IKEA, I do always get the meatballs. And they've got like a vegetarian or vegan hot dog. It's like 60p or something, which is pretty good too. So would recommend. But yeah, in general, I'm just not a fan of shopping though. I think the thing that puts me off of shopping a lot of the time is the busyness. Everywhere seems to be so busy post-pandemic. That's what I've found anyway. And it just isn't very relaxing just walking around. But yeah, and I suppose for the most part, you just get stuff online nowadays anyway. I don't really ever go into a shop to get a deal or go into a shop to buy something. Normally, you just do it online, and it's just quicker and easier. But I suppose there's certain things that like you want to try them on, like shoes. I guess you need to go in for. But I just think you get better prices online anyway. But yeah, not like I really buy stuff anyway. I think I'm quite like simplistic with things for the most part. I'm quite low maintenance with most things. I think, like even even like my clothes and stuff. Like I don't need to go out and buy stuff all the time. If I don't need to spend money, I try not to. I don't like aimlessly spending for no reason. But I suppose the thing is, I've had this discussion on here before. If I won the lottery and I was a millionaire, would that change? I don't think it would. I spoke to someone the other day and we was talking about this. This is like a typical conversation topic for me. I don't know why. It always seems to come up. But if I won the lottery, it wouldn't change where I went and ate and stuff. Like I'd probably go to like a couple of nice places, but I'd still love Nando's. I'd still love McDonald's. It wouldn't stop me from getting a kebab or a Nando's or Burger King or whatever, because those places are what I like. So I wouldn't all of a sudden be going to some Michelin star restaurant just to pick up a burger. Do you know what I mean? I would still be going to Burger King or McDonald's. So I don't think it would change my eating habits much. Car wise, I suppose I would probably upgrade, but even then, I'm not bothered about my car. As long as it has four wheels and drives and doesn't break down, I don't really care. But I suppose you probably would. I'm talking if I won, multiple millions. I suppose you would feel like you should do. One thing I would definitely do is a really cool holiday. I'd like to go to America. I'd always wanted to go to Florida, so I'd probably do that. That's something I'd definitely do. I'd go and see something I wanted to see. Like, I'd be interested in going to like an NBA game or something and staying in a cool hotel or whatever. But I don't really have too much interest in many other places to visit. So I suppose, unless I was really, really keen on going somewhere, I probably wouldn't be just travelling around for the sake of it. Again, watches. I don't know if I would buy an expensive watch. Maybe as an investment if I won loads of money. But I don't really know that much about watches, so I suppose there would be no point in me just spending money on a watch for an investment. This is what I mean. Like, all these things are just dependent on how I felt at the time. What would you guys buy? Let me know what you would buy if you won the lottery. It would be the first thing you do. I'd definitely give loads of money to charity. That's one thing I'd do. I'd give a ton away to charities, all different ones that I've wanted to donate to. I'd give some to my family. Definitely give some to my family and friends. But again, I suppose that depends. Like, do you tell people how much you've won? Because then you get people coming out of the woodwork wanting stuff. It's quite a tough one, I think. It's a really sticky sort of situation because I think you can probably lose a lot of friends because of it. And also, would you really know who your real friends were? Would people be being nice to you just because you've got money? I don't know. But yeah, what would you guys do with it? Because I haven't got a clue. Anyway, what was I talking about before I got onto this? Do you know what? It's actually crazy that summer is only like 4 months away now. It only feels like winter started a few months ago for me. It's mental that summer's going to be here soon. Like, it's spring in like weeks, really. It's mad. I really like spring. I think spring's a really nice time of year. But I think the start of summer is such a good feeling when you wake up and it's warm outside and you haven't got to go out wearing a hoodie and coats and everything. You just go out wearing like a t-shirt and you just feel good. It's such a nice feeling. I think probably for me, summer is my favourite time of year. I really like it when You can just wear shorts when you go out, and it's so nice. Like, summer in England is very scenic as well. If you've been here or live here, you'll know especially if you go to the countryside or a beach. It's a very, very scenic country in certain areas. So I really like it, especially like woodland areas and areas with lakes and rivers. It's a very, very nice place just to go for a walk or go and meet your friends somewhere. But if you live in a city, then you don't really get that experience because it's all built up and concrete. But if you go out of the way into the country a little bit, it's really nice. One thing I've always wanted to try is an outdoor swimming pool, but I just don't know if I would like it. I feel like every time I go swimming, I get ill, which is really annoying. I'd love to go swimming and just not get a cold afterwards. So I know some people that actually go swimming in outdoor swimming pools in like January. I just don't know how you could do that. It would be absolutely freezing. I'd hate that. And these people got like 6 a.m. too. It must be absolutely horrible. I don't know why you'd put yourself through that. In the summer, I'd love to. I'd imagine it's really nice in the summer, but definitely not a winter thing for me, an outdoor swimming pool. Especially not in England. It's too cold. But yeah, I'm looking forward to our 3 days of summer that we get. Actually, recently in England, I think it was yesterday, people were saying that in London you could see the Northern Lights, which is pretty cool. I don't know why. I have no idea why or how, but apparently you could. And my friend sent me a picture today of who lives further out than London, but you could see from his house the Northern Lights, which is amazing, really, when you think about it. Like, I've never seen them, and to be honest, I'm pretty out there right now, and I probably haven't even looked. But after this, I'm going to go out and have a look, see if I can see the Northern Lights, and I'll update you guys. But I highly doubt that I'm going to see them. I'd love to go and see them. I think if you go up to Scotland, you can see them. I don't think I'm wrong there. I think it's Scotland. That's something I've always wanted to see. I do like scenic things. Like, I like mountainous regions and things like the Northern Lights and that kind of thing. I do really appreciate a nice scenery. But yeah. Anyway, I've probably waffled on far too long. I don't think there's anything else I wanted to talk about. No, I think that was pretty much everything. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know. Yeah, thanks a lot for listening.